Imagine you're standing in a crowded room, heart racing, waiting for someone to notice you. You don't say a word, but your energy does. It's pleading, pulling, reaching out for something, someone, to fill a void you barely acknowledge. You've felt it before, haven't you? The more you chase love, success, or validation, the further it slips away. It's not because you're unworthy or the world is cruel. It's because your energy, that invisible force radiating from your core, is whispering a truth you haven't faced: I am not enough. Master Shi Heng Yi, the Shaolin monk whose teachings blend ancient wisdom with modern clarity, speaks of this as a misalignment of spirit. Your actions might be calm, your words measured, but energy doesn't lie. When you chase, you emit a frequency of lack, a silent signal that pushes away what you desire most. It's not about what you say or do, it's about what you are. Shi Yi teaches that the universe doesn't respond to your wishes but to the vibration you carry. If that vibration hums with need, with a quiet desperation to be seen, it creates a ripple that repels rather than attracts. Think about it. You send a message, and your phone feels like a ticking bomb as you wait for a reply. Each passing minute tightens your chest. You tell yourself you're fine, but your energy betrays you, radiating a subtle panic. Please respond. Please prove I matter. Shi Heng Yi would say this isn't desire, it's attachment. It's a chain forged from the fear of being incomplete. The moment you lean into that fear, you're no longer in your center. You're running, chasing a shadow of what you think will make you whole. But here's the shift Master Yi points to: when you stop chasing, when you stop seeking external fixes for an internal ache, something profound happens. You return to your root, your stillness. In Shaolin philosophy, this is the state of Wu Wei, effortless being. Not forcing, not grasping, but existing fully in the moment. When you embody this, you don't need to pull things toward you. Your presence becomes magnetic. The world, once indifferent, begins to move in your direction, not because you demanded it, but because you've become a beacon of quiet power. Shi Yi often describes this as aligning with your inner rhythm. Picture a lake, its surface still, reflecting the sky perfectly. Drop a stone, and ripples distort the image. Chasing is that stone, your anxiety, your need, your unspoken belief that you lack. Each ripple muddies your clarity, scattering what you seek. But when you let the water settle, when you stop throwing stones, the reflection returns. You don't attract by reaching, you attract by being whole. This isn't about giving up desire. It's about transforming it. Desire born of lack pushes away, desire born of fullness draws near. Master Yi tells us that true strength lies not in pursuit but in presence. When you no longer chase, you create space for what's meant for you to arrive. It's not magic, it's vibration. Your energy shifts from "I need" to "I am." And in that shift, everything changes. Consider someone who walks into a room and instantly commands attention, not through loud words or grand gestures, but through a quiet certainty. They don't beg for eyes to turn their way, their energy does the work. Shi Heng Yi would say they've mastered their inner frequency. They've stopped running after validation and instead embody it. This is the secret: when your energy no longer chases, the world begins to chase you. Not because you've won some cosmic game, but because you've finally aligned with the truth of who you are. You felt it, haven't you? That moment when you're trying so hard to be seen, to be chosen, yet the harder you try, the more you feel invisible. It's as if the universe is playing a cruel trick. But Master Shi Heng Yi would tell you it's no trick at all, it's a mirror. Your reality reflects not what you want, but what you carry inside. When your energy vibrates with the quiet hum of "I'm not enough," the world responds in kind, showing you distance, silence, or rejection. Not to punish you, but to show you what you're broadcasting. Shi Yi teaches that your inner world is like a temple, and every thought, every feeling, every unspoken fear is an offering on its altar. If you offer lack, doubt, neediness, or the ache to be completed by someone else, the temple echoes that offering back. This isn't about blame. It's about understanding the silent language of energy. Your vibration speaks before your words, moves before your actions. When you chase love out of loneliness or success out of insecurity, you're not moving from strength. You're moving from a wound. Master Yi often references the Shaolin principle of self-mastery. To know yourself is to govern your energy. He doesn't frame it in the mystical terms of modern spirituality but in the grounded wisdom of discipline. Imagine you're waiting for a call from someone you care about. Your mind spins stories. Maybe they're busy, maybe they're upset, maybe you said something wrong. Your fingers hover over your phone, itching to send a message to ease the tension. On the surface, you're calm, but inside, your energy is frantic, seeking reassurance. Shi Heng Yi would ask, why do you need this person to respond to feel whole? What part of you believes you're incomplete without their validation? This is where the real work begins. It's not about changing your behavior or crafting better messages. It's about facing the inner fracture that makes you chase in the first place. Shi Yi speaks of the shadow self, not as a dark enemy but as the unacknowledged parts of you, fears, insecurities, old wounds, that silently steer your life. When you chase, you're not chasing a person or a goal. You're chasing the feeling of being enough. But no one, no achievement, can give you that. It's already within you, buried beneath layers of doubt. Picture a woman named Elena. At 29, she's built a life that looks perfect, vibrant career, close friends, a warm smile that lights up any room. Yet every relationship she enters follows the same arc: excitement, then anxiety, then distance. She doesn't beg or cling outwardly, but her energy does. She checks her phone, overanalyzes texts, and feels a pang when her partner doesn't respond quickly. During a retreat inspired by Shi Heng Yi's teachings, she sat in silence and asked herself a simple question: what am I really seeking? The answer wasn't love, it was confirmation. She was seeking someone to prove she was worthy, because deep down, she didn't believe it herself. This realization, Shi Yi would say, is the first step toward freedom. It's not about fixing yourself but about seeing yourself clearly. When Elena stopped chasing external validation, she began to sit with her own discomfort. She didn't force positivity or suppress her fears. Instead, she observed them, like a monk observing the breath. In that stillness, she found something powerful: the ability to choose her vibration. She began to emit a signal not of need, but of presence. And slowly, the world around her shifted. People were drawn to her, not because she tried harder, but because her energy was no longer begging. It was whole. This is the paradox Master Yi emphasizes: when you stop chasing, you don't lose. You gain. You become the center, the still point from which everything flows. The world doesn't chase you because you're perfect, it chases you because you've stopped running. You've been there, haven't you? Smiling through a conversation, nodding at the right moments, but inside, a quiet voice whispers, "Am I enough?" You don't say it out loud, but it hums in your chest, colors your gaze, shapes the way you move through the world. Master Shi Heng Yi would call this the shadow's pulse, a vibration born from the parts of you that haven't yet been embraced. It's not your fault, but it is your responsibility. Because until you face those hidden corners, your energy will keep chasing, and the world will keep mirroring that chase back to you. Shi Yi, in his teachings rooted in Shaolin wisdom, speaks of life as an alchemical process. Not the kind that turns lead into gold, but the kind that transforms your inner chaos into clarity. This alchemy doesn't happen through effort alone, it happens through acceptance. Not the shallow kind where you tell yourself, "I'm fine," to silence the ache, but the deep, unflinching kind where you look at your fears, your doubts, your need for approval, and say, "I see you. You're part of me." When you do this, you stop running from yourself. And when you stop running, your energy shifts from lack to fullness. Imagine you're in a new relationship. Everything feels light at first, like a breeze carrying you forward. But then, a small moment, a delayed response, a distracted glance, triggers something. Your mind spirals. Are they pulling away? Did I do something wrong? You don't lash out or demand answers, but your energy does. It tenses, it clings, it silently begs for reassurance. Shi Heng Yi would say this is your inner temple out of balance. You're not reacting to the moment, you're reacting to an old wound, one that says you need someone else to prove your worth. This is where Master Yi's wisdom cuts deep. The world doesn't respond to your intentions, it responds to your state. If your state is rooted in fear of not being enough, you'll attract experiences that echo that fear, people who seem distant, opportunities that slip through your fingers. But when you turn inward and accept every part of yourself, the anxious, the uncertain, the imperfect, you begin to emit a different frequency. It's not about becoming someone new, it's about returning to who you've always been beneath the noise. Take the story of Marcus, a 35-year-old artist who spent years chasing recognition. He poured his soul into his work, but every rejection felt like a verdict on his worth. He'd stay up late, tweaking his portfolio, sending emails, waiting for galleries to respond. The more he pushed, the more silence he got. During a workshop inspired by Shi Yi's teachings, he was asked to sit in stillness and ask, "What am I chasing?" The answer hit him like a wave. He wasn't chasing success, he was chasing the feeling of being seen. Deep down, he believed he was invisible without external validation. Marcus didn't quit his art. Instead, he began a practice Shi Yi would call returning to the root. Each morning, he sat quietly, not to meditate away his doubts, but to feel them. He let himself sit with the fear of being overlooked, the ache of feeling small. He didn't fight it or fix it, he accepted it as part of his human mosaic. Over weeks, something shifted. His art didn't change, but his energy did. He stopped creating from a place of proving and started creating from presence. Galleries began to notice. Not because his work was suddenly better, but because his vibration was no longer desperate, it was authentic. Shi Yi teaches that self-acceptance is the key to alchemy. When you embrace your whole self, flaws, fears, and all, you stop sending out a signal of lack. Your energy becomes a quiet invitation, not a demand. And in that space, the world begins to chase you, not because you're chasing it, but because you've become a flame that draws others near. You know that moment when you feel a pang in your chest, a quiet ache that whispers you're not enough? It's not loud, not dramatic, but it's there, urging you to check your phone, to seek a smile, to chase something that will soothe it. Master Shi Heng Yi would say this ache is not just emotion, it's the voice of an unseen wound, a fracture in your inner temple that shapes your energy. In Shaolin teachings, these wounds are not flaws but signals, pointing you toward the parts of yourself that need to be seen, not by others, but by you. Shi Yi speaks of the inner shadow, not as something to fear but as a teacher. This shadow holds your unacknowledged fears, your buried doubts, the moments you learn to believe you must chase to be worthy. When you pursue love, success, or validation from a place of lack, you're not acting from your true self. You're acting from this shadow, from the belief that something outside you will heal what's broken inside. But no one, no achievement, can do that work for you. The world, as Master Yi reminds us, mirrors what you carry, not what you wish for. Picture a woman named Aisha, 32, who always seemed to radiate confidence. She was the life of every gathering, her laughter infectious, her career on the rise. Yet in her quiet moments, she felt a void. Every relationship she entered started with sparks but ended in distance. She didn't beg or cling, she prided herself on her independence, but her energy told a different story. She'd overthink every pause in conversation, every delayed reply, her mind spinning with questions. Did I say too much? Am I too much? During a meditation session inspired by Shi Heng Yi, she was asked to sit with one question: what are you afraid of losing if you stop chasing? The answer hit like a wave. She was afraid of disappearing, of being unseen, of not mattering. This fear, Shi Yi would explain, is the shadow at work. It's not just about one relationship or one moment, it's a pattern, rooted in a wound that's been with you longer than you realize. Maybe it's a childhood memory of feeling overlooked, or a time when you gave your all and still felt rejected. These moments don't vanish, they lodge in your energy, shaping the frequency you emit. When you chase, you're not chasing a person or a goal, you're chasing the feeling of being whole. But as Master Yi teaches, wholeness isn't found outside. It's reclaimed within, by facing the wound you've been running from. The practice is simple but not easy. Shi Heng Yi advocates for Nei Gong, inner work, where you sit with your discomfort instead of fleeing it. Next time you feel the urge to chase, to send that extra message or seek that extra nod of approval, pause. Breathe. Ask, what am I really seeking? What part of me feels incomplete? Don't rush to answer. Let the question linger. In Shaolin philosophy, this is the art of listening to your inner truth. It's not about fixing yourself but about understanding yourself. The wound isn't your enemy, it's a guide, showing you where your energy leaks. For Aisha, this practice was transformative. She didn't stop caring or connecting, but she stopped letting her shadow lead. She began to notice when her actions came from fear rather than love, from lack rather than fullness. And as she faced those wounds, her energy shifted. People didn't just notice her, they were drawn to her. Not because she was louder or shinier, but because her presence was no longer clouded by need. Shi Yi would say she had returned to her center, where the world doesn't need to be chased, it comes to you. The unseen wound is powerful, but so is your ability to face it. When you stop chasing to fill the void, you begin to heal it. And in that healing, your energy becomes a beacon, calling in what aligns with your truth. You felt the pull to control, haven't you? That restless urge to send one more message, to nudge a situation, to make sure you're not forgotten. It feels like strength, like you're taking charge of your life. But Master Shi Heng Yi would gently shake his head and say, control is not power. It's fear dressed in action. In Shaolin philosophy, true strength lies in surrender, not giving up, but letting go of the need to steer every outcome. When you surrender, you don't lose yourself, you find your center, and from that center, your energy transforms from chasing to receiving. Surrender, as Shi Yi teaches, is not passive. It's an active choice to trust the flow of life, to stop wrestling with uncertainty. When you chase, whether it's a person's attention, a job, or a sense of worth, you're fighting the present moment. Your energy contracts, tightens, and radiates a signal, I need this to be okay. That signal repels what you seek, not because you're unworthy, but because you're out of alignment. Surrender, in contrast, is the art of standing still in your truth, trusting that what belongs to you will arrive without force. Imagine Lila, a 38-year-old artist who always prided herself on her independence. She'd built a life of passion and creativity, but in relationships, she found herself trapped in a cycle of overthinking. Every time a partner grew quiet, her mind raced. What did I do? Are they pulling away? She'd send a casual text, hoping to mask her anxiety, but her energy carried the weight of needing reassurance. During a retreat inspired by Shi Heng Yi's teachings, she learned a practice. When the urge to control arose, she'd sit in silence, hands on her heart, and breathe. She'd ask, what am I afraid of if I do nothing? The answer was always the same. She feared being unseen, unloved, left behind. Shi Yi would say this fear is the ego's voice, not the soul's. The ego clings, plans, and manipulates to avoid pain. The soul, however, knows that pain is a teacher, not an enemy. In Shaolin practice, surrender is the courage to face uncertainty without flinching. It's not about ignoring your desires but about holding them lightly, trusting that what's meant for you doesn't need to be chased. When Lila began to practice this, she noticed a shift. Instead of texting to ease her anxiety, she waited, not out of strategy, but out of presence. She focused on her art, her breath, her own rhythm. And slowly, her relationships changed. People responded not to her need, but to her calm, her fullness. Master Yi often uses the metaphor of a river. When you push against its current, you exhaust yourself. When you flow with it, you move effortlessly. Surrender is flowing with the river of your life, trusting its direction. It's not about being perfect or suppressing your feelings. It's about noticing when you're acting from fear and choosing to return to your center instead. Shi Heng Yi teaches a simple exercise. When you feel the urge to chase, pause for 3 breaths. Feel your feet on the ground, your breath in your chest. Whisper to yourself, I am here. I am enough. This isn't a mantra to fake confidence, it's a reminder to anchor in your own presence. This practice rewires your energy. You stop emitting the vibration of lack and begin radiating trust. And here's the paradox: when you surrender the need to control, you don't become invisible, you become magnetic. People, opportunities, and moments flow toward you, not because you demanded them, but because your energy is no longer pushing them away. Shi Yi would say this is the natural state of the soul, whole, present, and unafraid. When you live from that place, you don't need to chase. The world finds you, drawn to the quiet power of your surrender. You've stopped chasing, stopped controlling, and begun to surrender. But what comes next? Master Shi Heng Yi would say this is where you step into the radiance of presence, the state where you no longer seek, yet everything meant for you finds its way. Presence isn't about doing more or being louder, it's about being fully here, in this moment, without the weight of fear or expectation. In Shaolin philosophy, this is the essence of true power, not forcing life to bend to your will, but aligning so deeply with your inner truth that the world can't help but respond. Shi Yi teaches that presence is a vibration, a frequency that hums from your core when you're no longer split between past regrets and future anxieties. It's the quiet strength of a monk walking into a temple, not demanding attention, yet shifting the air with their calm. You've met someone like this, haven't you? They don't try to impress, yet their energy draws you in. They're not chasing approval, because they've already chosen themselves. This, Master Yi would say, is the magnetic pull of living from your center. Consider Javier, a 41-year-old teacher who spent years feeling unseen. He was kind, dedicated, but always felt he had to prove his worth, through extra hours at work, through constant check-ins with friends, through overanalyzing every interaction. He thought effort was the answer, but it left him drained, and the connections he craved slipped further away. During a workshop inspired by Shi Heng Yi, he was given a challenge: for 1 week, do nothing to seek validation. No extra gestures, no chasing responses, just be. At first, Javier felt exposed, as if he'd vanish without his usual hustle. But as he practiced presence, focusing on his breath, his work, his own rhythm, he noticed something. Colleagues sought him out. Friends reached out unprompted. His energy, once scattered by need, became a steady flame that drew others near. Shi Yi would explain this through the Shaolin principle of Jing, inner stillness that radiates outward. When you're present, you're not reacting to the world's noise or filling silence with desperation. You're whole, grounded, and your energy speaks before you do. It's not about perfection or suppressing desire. It's about letting go of the need to be completed by something external. Master Yi often says, the world does not chase the one who runs. It chases the one who stands still in their truth. How do you cultivate this presence? It's not a checklist, it's a practice. Shi Heng Yi suggests starting small. Carve out 5 minutes each day to sit with yourself, no distractions, no phone. Feel your breath, your heartbeat, the weight of your body. Notice the thoughts that pull you away, worries, plans, cravings, and let them pass without chasing them. This is Wachan, the meditation of being. Over time, this practice rewires your energy. You stop emitting signals of lack and begin radiating fullness. You become the temple, not the seeker outside its gates. This shift changes everything. When Javier stopped chasing, he didn't lose connection, he gained it. People were drawn to his calm, his clarity, not because he tried harder but because he was fully himself. Shi Yi would say this is the natural state of the soul, complete, unapologetic, and present. When you live from this place, you don't need to attract love, success, or validation. They come to you, not because you've earned them, but because your energy is aligned with truth. Pause. Right now, take a breath and ask, are you chasing, or are you here? If you choose presence, you choose power. Not the power to control, but the power to be. And in that being, the world finds you, not because you demanded it, but because you've become the light it cannot ignore. If this resonates, leave one word in the comments: present. It's not just a word, it's a vow to return to yourself, where everything you've ever sought already waits.